I'm so ready to be done with these projects. I'm so ready. As I sat down, I was like, wow, I was like, some people do vlogs and they like get cute and they get their makeup done and their hair done and they like show up and they look put together. And I'm like on a Saturday like, oh my gosh, I think I forgot to update. This is what I look like. Here we are and here we go. Hi, I'm Liselle and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things writing, traditional publishing, and a little bit of reading. And this is the March vlog, which is already off to a stellar start because the clip that I filmed for this at the beginning of the month doing my introduction was accidentally filmed on a slow-mo with no audio. And so I'm here at the end of the month just to do a quick introduction for you, and then we'll just go straight into the first update of the month. But I just wanted to set the scene of the projects that I'm going to be working on in March. So I'm going to be working on two projects. The first is an adult horror thriller work in progress called #The Retreat. It is essentially about a woman who goes to a retreat and a lot of stuff goes down. It has become more vague in synopsis now because I've made some kind of significant changes to the manuscript that have kind of changed how I would summarize it or do a synopsis for it. And so this is, it went on submission, and it was on submission to publishers for 6 months, and then we pulled it to do a revise and resubmit for one editor. And so that's what these edits are. I'm editing it based on comments I got from an editor to see if we can, I guess, to see if the editor will like it and want to buy it. And so that's what I'm working on. And so that's one thing. And then the second thing is the second book in the A Mastery of Monsters series. This is my YA Dark Academia Fantasy trilogy. The first book coming out in July of 2025 of this year. And I am now working on the second book in the trilogy. So I've gotten my first round of developmental edits from my editor. And so I am basically going through and doing that revision for this month. So those are the two projects that I'm going to be working on just to set the stage for you, and I will send you to the first update. As I sat down, I was like, wow, I was like, some people do vlogs and they like get cute and they get their makeup done and their hair done and they like show up and they look put together. And I'm like on a Saturday like, oh my gosh, I think I forgot to update. This is what I look like. Here we are and here we go. So but anyway, yeah, I don't have the fortitude for it. Sometimes I wish I did, but I do not. So here we are. You get to see me in my au naturel state. So yeah, updates about actually writing. So I have been kind of like plowing through on both this Mastery sequel and the adult thriller horror. So I'll start with the adult thriller horror, The Retreat updates. So I have basically gone through, I've finished that, like the rewriting actual portion of it. I also went through and looked based on like the editor notes. I went and I plotted out some more things to add, just like sort of revision-y things. I also went and I decided to put in like Slack a conversation. So Slack is like a messaging platform, lots of like marketing people use it. I used it when I worked in marketing. And so I decided I wanted to put in conversations from the people that work at the retreat so that you can get a little bit more of their perspective without making it like a whole POV, because I didn't really want to do that. And so I decided to do that. I also feel like this ladders up really well because in my slug book, I also have like little social media messaging sort of like interludes. And so I'm always thinking of the future. So I'm like, if this book sold and they wanted like another book that's like a companion sort of thing, then the slug book might fit in really well actually. So anyway, I decided to do that, and so I went through and I wrote all of those. And yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. I also think that sometimes I like had like a lot of fun with it. But I think they're gonna be a good addition. I feel like they definitely give enough of the perspective from people who are working at the retreat that I think you can kind of like get their position a little bit more, because that was a note that had come up of like wanting to kind of understand the perspective of the people that are working there a little bit more, because they do kind of have a significant impact on the story. But again, I didn't want to like pull away from Harper's point of view, and so I feel like this worked out really well. So I'm really happy about those. So now I have everything that I plan to do in an edit planned out. And so I'm going to go through and basically do chapter by chapter. I have to do 4 chapters a day to finish by the end of the month. And I do think I can do it. So just like making those little edits that I planned out, and also being cognizant of tone and going through and like doing all of that. So that's my plan for that. So I'm pleased about having gotten all of that done, and I'm excited about kind of jumping in and like polishing it up and feeling like I have something polished, and like seeing how it reads all the way through, because I've been doing so much in kind of different chunks, and seeing how that all comes together. So I'm excited about that. And then the Mastery sequel, I have just been plowing through on those edits, and I did actually make a little bit of a more significant edit. So I'm reading this book and I'm like, is there enough school in this? Because what's happened is, because of the things that happen with the society, they're doing a lot of things in different places, but they're not necessarily on campus. They're in the city. And I was like, oh, I don't think there's enough stuff happening on campus. And it's a dark academia, so I can't like I can't not have enough things happening on campus. And so I ended up switching a lot of the settings. So what they were doing is they were doing a lot of stuff at this one character's house that was like close to campus, but it wasn't on campus. And so I decided to switch it to like doing more stuff on campus. So I've just been like trying to find different sorts of venues. I ended up looking in the like on the Queen's like athletic center. I don't know a lot about this athletic center. I went to that gym like twice. It was not my thing, but I realized they have like combat rooms. So like for people that like practice like martial arts and things like that, that you can rent. And they're like, from the pictures online, like they're pretty like sizable rooms. And I was like, you could fight a monster in here. Not like a big fight, but you could like train. You could train in this room. And so I was like, oh, okay, this will work for some of the trainings. And it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't have used these rooms in the first book, just because it was like a little bit more scrappy in the first book and things are a little bit more official in this one. And so I was able to like set that up as like doing some of the trainings there, and that's something I'm gonna be continuing to do as I go forward into the book, is like switching out some of those settings to be more on campus, to make sure that I'm getting in more of those. And it's just because like the main competition in this book isn't taking place like on campus, which, mind you, the main competition in the last book also wasn't necessarily taking place on campus. Because again, I have to think about the fact that there are 6 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot tall monsters, and there needs to be some level of secrecy. And I just like, there's only so much you could like suspend disbelief where I was like, this can't be happening on campus. And so I've had to do a lot of like off campus stuff, but I've been trying to find more ways to like bring it back to campus now, so that they're not doing too much off, because it was starting to feel like that. I was looking at my chapters and I was like, have they been on campus for a while? I was like, have they not done this? And it was starting to feel like too divorced from the actual like academia setting. So it was getting the secret society thing, but the actual like setting of the school was kind of, I felt getting lost a little bit. And so I started adding those back in. And so I feel like that's really good. I'm really pleased with that. And yeah, that's kind of everything that's going on writing wise, I really am trying to plow to the finish at this point. Well, not like rushing through. I mean, I still have like 2 weeks left in the month to get through, but I really am wanting to like wrap up everything at the end of the month so that I can get back into Slug Book and kind of concentrate just on that for a month. I really want to be doing that, and so I'm really working towards that, and I think it's going well so far. But otherwise, good news, it is finally starting to warm up here. Things are melting. I'm like, oh my gosh, spring is actually happening. And of course my partner was like, we'll still get a blast of snow. And I was like, get out of here. Get out of here. I was like, I'm trying to manifest proper spring. And so, yeah, I'm very happy about it warming up, and the snow finally melting. It's starting to, I can see the light. I can see spring coming. And so I'm very excited about that. But yeah, that is everything that I've got going on so far. And I will chat with you again later. Here for another update, but before that I have to show you my nails. These, okay, hopefully it'll focus properly. I did like little Easter nails, so I'm very proud of them. There's a little, hold on, let's see if it focuses. Come on, I got a little rose thing there, and look at this adorable bunny rabbit. I'm very proud of it. And then, oh god, I was like, how do I even show the thumb? There's a thumb. Come on, come on. You could do it. Just ignore my face. Oh my god, there we go. And there's the thumb. As much as I can show it. Anyway, I'm very proud of my nails. These are my like little Easter spring nails, even though we have got like a foot of snow and so spring is not at all coming for us here. But anyway, I got a little like nail box subscription, and there was a bunch of like really cute stuff in it, and so I put together this new set with it. This bunny charm though is massive. Like, I don't know if you could see how like high it is off my finger. I don't know if that's gonna bug me, but anyway, I really wanted to do it, so it's already on my hand, so I'll just live with it, but I'm very happy with my nails. Anyway, writing stuff to talk about. So I have 1 week left after this week. I'm so ready to be done with these projects. I'm so ready. But I have 1 week left. So where am I at now in things? So for the retreat, I feel like it's going well. I feel like I'm feeling like the relationship between the two characters is like being expressed the way it should, and so I feel like it's coming across better. Will it actually when people read it? I don't know. But I do feel like I've made an improvement. So there's that. I will say there was like a request to have the male lead on the page more, and because of things that I switched in the beginning, that isn't necessarily what's happening in that first bit, but I hope that it comes through properly when it goes through to the end. So there's that. I don't know if the horror edge is coming through as much as I wanted it to. I no longer can tell, and so that's just as it is. It is as it is. So that's how that's going. But mostly I'm at the point now where I'm like, I just want to be done. I just want to be done. I'm still taking my time with it. I'm doing the edits I need to do, but I'm so over it. I'm really over it at this point in time. I'm so done. So yeah. Anyway, so that's the retreat. And then for the second mastery book, I almost accidentally said the title of the second mastery book. That's going really well, actually. I'm very, very pleased with how that has been going. I talked about in the past how like now that there's two love interests, the new one, in trying to establish the new one really well, the old one faded a little bit more than I wanted, or like not the old one, like the original one. And so I've been pulling in him a lot more into this draft, and I feel like it's going like really, really well. I feel like that's like I've definitely that I feel like I'm hitting on a T, and I feel like that's going really well. I feel like I've clarified the whole thing that the main character mentally is kind of going through at this time. I feel like I've clarified that quite a bit more. And yeah, and it's just like, it's such a fun book, and I know I say that all the time, it's probably so exhausting at this point, but like I read this book and I am delighted with it. I'm delighted. Just so many things. And I know that I've written the character, but I'll like read stuff from August and I'll be like, oh my gosh, you're the best, you're so annoying. Like, and it's not like she's like annoying in like a humorous way. Like it's not like, oh, she's doing annoying things. It's just like she like, there will be a situation in which the characters are in and it's like a tense situation, and she'll come in and say something like ridiculous and everybody will be like, oh my gosh, like that's just the sort of energy she has. And I love that so much for her. And I read a scene where she like encountered a character with a very similar energy, and she was like, oh my gosh, is that how I am? Am I like that? And as an author, I'm like, absolutely, that is exactly what you are like. But anyway, just like a good time. So that's going really well, and I'm really pleased about that. In not so great news, it's tax time, and that didn't go great for me. I just end up owing way more than I thought I would owe, which I have it. So that's important, and that's great. I'm in a good position. I have the money to give. The downside is that was money I thought I was going to be able to rely on for income, and I can't anymore. And so yeah, it's put me in a little bit of a tough position. I'm basically now in the position of which yeah, I gotta sell something this year. I have to sell something this year. And that wasn't a situation I was previously in. I really thought I wouldn't need to until next year. And I mean, I guess if I pushed it, I wouldn't need to until next year, but I do need to sell something. And that's stressful. That's stressful. That's not super fun. I also will be applying for a grant. And I am going to apply for a grant for the slug book. Just because, yeah, I need the support, and like, if the retreat, this whole R&R thing, if that does not work out, then I would be trying to sell the slug book next anyway. And so it kind of makes sense. And so if I got a grant, that would really help me in the next year, and that would buy me more time to try and sell something. And so that's my hope. There's also some stuff in the background. I can't get into it, but there's some stuff in the background that might end up working out, but I don't know. And so yeah, it was a little bit of a stressful moment for me financials wise. I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like I thought I would be good and I wouldn't be good. And basically the whole thing came down to I really should have incorporated right at the beginning of the year, but I didn't know what I was doing and I was scared and I was nervous and I didn't do it. And now I'm in this situation now, but it's just, it is what it is. That's life. That's being a full-time author. So yeah, it's put a little bit of pressure on me, but it's not like I don't have something that I'm working on. I have the retreat that I'm working on. I'm going to be working on the slug book next month. I am now rapidly putting together a grant application. So it's just kind of, you know, things are happening. But yeah, it's a little bit tough because I really kind of felt like I'd finally found my footing and was kind of on solid ground, and then I felt like just the rug just got whipped up underneath me, and now I'm just kind of scrambling a little bit. But you know, it is what it is. But let's talk about better things. Let's talk about reading. So I, in 2 days, read Sunrise on the Reaping, which is the new Hunger Games book. I loved it. I loved it. Just amazing, amazing, amazing. Absolutely loved it. I will say, and it's like, it's so fan service. Like, and I just like, I feel like I got so much of what I wanted. There were so many characters that popped up where I was like, oh my gosh. And like things that were revealed where I was like, oh, you know, it was just, oh, just a good time. And Haymitch, I've always wanted a Haymitch book, desperately wanted a Haymitch book, and I'm so happy about it. There were some things I like definitely didn't expect with a Haymitch book though. I was like, oh, that was surprising to me. Yeah, so just like, and just the classic caring so much about characters, like the absolute gift that Suzanne Collins has to make you care so much about a character that you know is not going to make it. It's just heart-wrenching. Anyway, I loved it. I cried when I finished. I was like, oh, she got me. I'm like crying. Oh, it was just, you know, it was a whole thing. So anyway, so that was that. I also can't remember if I talked about, I got an early copy of a book. It's called It Lurks in the Night by Sarah Doss. Sarah Doss did actually, oh, I have it right here. Wrote this book, It Waits in the Forest, and this is going to be her new supernatural thriller that is coming out this year, I believe in October, and I really liked it. It was so good. If the cover has been revealed, I will pop up the cover. If it hasn't, I will not. But yeah, it was so good. It's about basically these 4 girls who were really good friends, but they've kind of fallen out, and they all used to do this like boat trip around these islands. It's like set in the Caribbean. They used to do this boat trip, and they've kind of fallen apart, but this is their last year. Like they're graduating, they're going to different universities, and so the one girl that really wants to keep them together is like, please, let's just go on this boat trip one last time. And they go on the boat trip and something happens. Yeah, and it involves a really cool figure from Caribbean folklore, and it's just, yeah, I don't want to like spoil things, so I'm trying not to say too much, but it's a really good supernatural thriller. Really, like, the mystery is amazing. It's also like a really creepy, so good. So please like add it to your Goodreads and check it out, because yeah, I'm really excited for it. I also, it was so funny when I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, this is an amazing setup. I was like, I love this setup so much. And I was like, oh yeah, this is like, it made me think of, my horror trio book that I was working on, because it was like a group of friends that had had this falling out, and they were like gonna go away to university, and it was like kind of trying to get back together one last time. And so I just like, I love stuff like that. I love like female friendships that are like broken and messy, and like the person trying to fix it and all of that. So it's, yeah, just great. So definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I read that before I read the Hunger Games book, and now I feel like I'm like slumpy from reading Sunrise on the Reaping, because I'm like, I just want another Hunger Games book, but there's no other Hunger Games book. I did almost like right away just jump into reading the first Hunger Games book again, which I do want to reread the series at some point. But yeah, I don't know. I gotta find something else. I do have some books, some early copies of books, so I may dive into one of those, or I may hop into something else. I don't know. I don't know where I'm at reading wise, but yeah, so that's on a good end. And despite the sort of stressors that came, I feel like I'm doing pretty good, and I'm really, really looking forward to hitting that finish line and finishing these edits on both The Retreat and the second mastery book. And here we are at the end of the vlog, at the end of the month. I'm so relieved. I'm so relieved to be done. I'm so happy to be done. My God. Yeah, working on 2 projects at once is never my, it's never what I want to be doing. I really prefer to just work on one project at once. And like, it was challenging in this case because I'm also working on 2 projects in like 2 different age categories in 2 different tenses. So The Retreat is like in past tense, and the second mastery book is in present tense, and I'm just like, I found myself at sometimes like getting a little bit jumbled and had to kind of work that out. But yeah, so what shall I talk about first? Let's talk about the retreat first. Very happy to be done with this edit. I've been working on this for 2 months, and it was starting to get to me. I was starting to feel the fatigue, and I mean, there's already the fatigue of having written and rewritten this project so many times at this point that I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, I just want to be done. And I was like, remember when you kind of just wanted to phone this in? But I did it. I worked very hard on this draft. I do think this is a much better version of the book. I do think for sure putting the memories on page made a huge difference. I was like, oh, I didn't want to do this because I didn't want to add too many words, but I feel like it just really helped with the character. I feel like I've also really clarified more the kind of character motivations and what's important to them. And I hope in terms of like the male lead, I feel like I've clarified his stuff a lot more. And I hope that that comes across. And I said too, I was like gonna make him like a little bit more like a little bit more of a dick. But then I was talking with like a beta about like the things that are going into this story and what I think about. And it's not about they don't work because he's a dick. It's about, you know, talking about when people are like fundamentally, or not even fundamentally, like when something just isn't working anymore, and it's not necessarily anyone's fault, but it's also both people's fault, if that makes sense, and like trying to make that come across more. And I hope that I was able to do that, and that happened. And I hope that the other characters were kind of like fleshed out a little bit more. And yeah, so I think it's come together really well. It is a little bit longer than I wanted for it. It's about like 86,000 words, which for me is actually short. For me, considering my other books, actually short. But I did want to kind of be a little bit closer to that 80,000 word mark. But it's not too bad because it's kind of enough words that I'm like, okay, with an editor, maybe we could like cut this and that sort of thing. But I'm generally happy where it is because it's around like 350 pages, which is around where I want to be. I was just like, I'm not trying to make like a 400-page book. I just don't think it needs that sort of length. I do also think I've done much better at creating a sense of place in terms of this retreat. Like every time I was having them come into a new room, I was going on Pinterest, I was looking at pictures of settings, I was doing my best to pull that in and to give it more of a theme so that it has more of that Parisian, Victorian, sort of Canadian Gothic feel to it, which I hope has come through better in the tone. And so yeah, I'm ultimately happy with it. Part of me is also like, I don't know if this is good or trash anymore. And I feel like that's fair. I don't know anymore. I've just been in it for so long. But yeah, I'm happy to be done with that draft. So I've sent that off to my agent. She has said that she is going to try and flip it back to me basically in like a week. So we will see what she thinks and kind of feedback that she has. I'm hoping that it won't be anything too major and we can kind of get it back to the editor in April and kind of just see what happens, see where it falls, see if it works out, if it doesn't work out, and just kind of like, I'm ready for some conclusion with this project. I'm ready for some conclusion and for it to just kind of be like, okay, now we know everything that's happening. Either it is being bought or it is not being bought, and to just kind of close the chapter in one way or another. So I'm excited about that. And then, what else was I going to say? Oh, now the mastery book, the second mastery book. I mean, love having such a fun time, just great all around. Again, I wasn't really doing like major edits with this book, but just kind of doing like consistency sort of tweaks, I would say. And so that was really what I was doing going forward, just kind of clarifying the character journey. I also do feel like I've done very well, and I think I talked about this in the last update, done very well in like balancing the love interests a lot more. I feel like they both have a very good balance. I feel like they both have their moments of like you know, having kind of having standout moments with the main character, enough to kind of see the pluses and like minuses of both boy. I feel like that's come together. I also feel like I've done well in clarifying the boys' relationship to each other, because my editor was like, are we doing like a polyamory thing? Like what's kind of going on here? Like, because it seems like they might be able to like each other. And I was like, this is kind of what I'm doing. I was like, I'm kind of going for more of like a challengers vibe, in that like, yeah, it's sort of difficult. It was difficult for me to explain. And so I was like, that's probably why it's coming across odd on page. So it's kind of like they don't like each other. They don't like each other. And it's like that fine line between love and hate, but they're pretty much like, we're not going to be a thing. But they're both kind of stuck together in that they are both obsessed with the main character. And so there's like an underlying sort of tension between them, but it's not something that they would realize because they don't like each other. And I was trying to like have that come across because it is like a little bit more of like a complicated dynamic, I guess. And I was trying to express that, and I feel like I've done a good job at expressing that now. But overall, I'm just like, I'm very, very happy with this second book. Like, I think it's so good. And I feel like it's such a good companion and follow-up to the first book. I could see this being the sort of book where people would even say that they like this more than the first book, and that's what I always want. What I always want with my sequels is I want people to think, oh, do I like this even more than the book that came before? And that's really important to me, and that's what I've been striving for, and I do feel like I accomplished that with this. Which is very exciting. So at this point, I think we are going to go into line edits. I also have, it also needs to go to sensitivity readers as well. And so we've set up for this draft to be the one that goes to them because I wanted to like add some things in. My editor was like, we could even send this other draft to them, but I was like, I want to kind of like add more things in. And so there is a Mohawk character in there. And so I wanted to like get some, you know, I got some like secondary sources and like books and that sort of thing. And I wanted to like read more and add more things with that. And then I also wanted to check in on the representation of another character who, for Korean representation, but also for amputee representation. I wanted to flesh that out a little bit more and just kind of cross my T's, dot my I's, and make sure I was really happy with that representation before we kind of sent it off to readers to see what they think. So yeah, just overall very, very pleased with Mastery. I was like, oh, you're like my perfect little baby. I can't even think of that time in the past where I wrote the first draft of the first Mastery book and was like, oh, this is trash, and just like dropped it because I felt like it was so bad. I just like, I can't even imagine that now. I was like, it's so good. And I mean, this is the second book. It's a separate thing, but still, I'm just like, I'm very pleased. The only thing that happened is then I had like a brief moment of panic where I was like, oh my gosh, I have to write a third book. I was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I have a rough idea. I really do. I do have a good rough idea of the book. But now I'm like switching things in my mind. Like I had an idea for the midpoint of the third book that I actually think is better to put into this sort of near the end, that sort of like all is lost moment. I was like, I actually think it is better placed there. But yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. The gears are turning, especially because I'm going to be going on a research trip to Kingston in May, because I wanted to do that tour of Fort Henry, which is in the second book, but I didn't get to do the tour because it was off season. I do want to go back and do that, but I want to make sure that I have some settings in mind for the third book so I can also do research for the third book while I'm there. And so I kind of like gotta get the gears working because I'm like, okay, I want to get like double duty on some stuff, get going there. So but yeah, that is basically it for that. I also did some reading. I'm still reading Oathbound. I'm wanting to finish it this weekend. I'm really like enjoying it. I just got to like a point where I can't, I don't want to like spoilers anything, but it was just like, it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, this is so good. So I'm so excited. I'm still gonna finish it. I also, I've gotten completely distracted, I will say, by I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I read that book and I was like, oh, I'll just try it out. I was like, is romance I've heard people talking about? I was like, yeah, sure, let me give it a shot. I have become very obsessed. I have now read all 3 books that are out, and I've read 1 novella. I have 1 more novella left. Novella, I say novella, it's like 300 pages. It's basically a book at this point. Anyway, and I've done that in like a week. I've just been blowing through these books. They have a hold on me. I don't know how to explain it. I just like, they have grasped into me. I'm obsessed. I'm so obsessed with the series now. I literally finished reading the 3rd book in the series yesterday. And this morning I was like getting ready and I was like thinking about it and thinking about how good it was. And how much I wanted to read the 4th book. I thought the 4th book was already out. It isn't. Now I'm suffering. But anyway, I still have to read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. That's the only like extra book, companion book that I have left. I know I'm not reading them in the perfect order. I prefer to read the novella after I've read the next book. Like, it's technically 2.5, but I read 3 first and then I go back, and I like doing that because I read the book 2 first and then I went back to 1.5, and I preferred that because then I got to like see the characters a little bit before I went and read that. Anyway, I'm not gonna get too into my reading order, but yeah, I'm obsessed with it. This is my like new thing. I just feel like I'm in my romantasy mood now, my romantasy, or I don't know what it is, but when I read Phantasma, it like kicked something off, and I was like, I need to read more like romantasy stuff, and now I'm just like in that mood, in that headspace. So yeah, I'm gonna read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, and then first finish Oathbound, then Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, and then I will like move on to other stuff. But yeah, so it's been a very, very good reading month for me. I've just been having a great time. I talked about Sunrise on the Reaping. It has just been banger after banger this month. I also, did I talk about, yes, I talked about it, Lurks in the Night. It's just been a fantastic reading month for me. Oh, I also read Age 16. Do I have it handy? I also read Age 16 by Rosena Fung. This is a graphic novel. This author we're in an anthology together, and so I was meaning to read her book. It's about 3 different generations, all when they're 16, set in like different places, but it's like a grandmother, a mother, and a girl. And one is like her being 16 in like the 2000s. There's a lot of like discussions in here about like body image and that sort of thing, which I thought was great. Like, I really didn't know what I was going into it with, but yeah, it was just like, it was so good. I really, really liked it. Yeah, just like I said, a banger reading month. This was just great for me. So yeah, hoping to keep that energy going forward. But anyway, now that I've talked your ear off for so long, that's kind of it for this vlog. I will join you again in April. I am going to take a little bit of a week off for myself because I'm tired after working on 2 projects. But yeah, I will see you again in April. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!